We're here today with Ian Martin, General Manager, Australia and New Zealand, Baskin Robbins. Welcome, Ian.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and thank you for inviting me.
Where do you see the opportunities in the market?
I think Australia offers a lot of potential for the brand. We have three key strategies. The first one is about re-engineering the offer that we have in Australia. Traditionally in this market we've been very heavily focused on the cup and scoop business, which will always be an integral part of our business, but it's probably narrower than it is in many of the markets around the globe. And we'll certainly be looking to strengthen our menu offering, certainly into prepared cakes, into pre-packed ice cream packs to attract the grab-and-go customer. So I think our menu offering is important, as well as focusing on some of the categories that we are currently in, but probably aren't leveraging to the fullest extent, particularly beverages. We certainly should have a much stronger business in that category than what we currently have, and that will be a focus going forward. The second strategy is really about improving the guest experience, and like I mentioned before, some of the founding truths are about having fun and offering variety, and I think in this market we probably haven't given the guest experience that we would like to, and so we're putting a lot of focus on bringing that fun back to the business and bringing some of the icons of the brand back, our pink spoon for example, that bring a lot of ambience into the facility. And the third strategy is really the design and decor of our new facilities as we go forward, that is consistent with the extended menu offering that we're looking at. So a facility that has much grander artwork around the indulgent products that we have, that's more conducive to offering a beverage and a cake business, and more contemporary, that allows people to dine in as opposed to just walking in and getting a cup or a cone and walking out. So I think the opportunities for us to grow our existing business is quite significant. You know, there'll be quite a change that we need to go through, but we have fantastic franchise partners who we're building alignment with and who are very excited about the future that we're taking down for Australia.
Growth plans. How many stores would you like to open in the next 12 to 24 months?
Market penetration is clearly an important strategy. I think that getting it right is more important than an actual number. I like to think that we were going to accelerate development, but not development for development's sake. It's about profitable development. So we've been through a fairly extensive exercise of market mapping the country and looking where our market is most suitable for as we speak right now, and that's really the Western Australian market, where we haven't opened a store there prior to us coming in for 7 years, but we'll open 11 there this year. So we see Western Australia as an important growth engine for the business, and certainly North Queensland as well. Where our focus will, and it already is, but will turn to, is New South Wales and Victoria. Our brand is poorly represented in these two markets, and it is a very different retail environment down here than in Western Australia and Queensland. So we need to do some work to ensure that our brand is correctly positioned. We're working as we speak to build our first new concept store into Castle Hill in New South Wales. So that'll be the first store in Australia that will have our new design. We're very excited about that, and I think it will help us position the Baskin Robbins brand in the New South Wales market in a much more contemporary position than where it is currently.
What role does the US parent have in the day-to-day running of Baskin Robbins? And on a related point, is there anything out of the US that you're instituting here?
It's a great question. One of the real benefits of being a franchise partner of Baskin Robbins is it comes with 65 years of experience and operating 4,000 restaurants in the Baskin side, 43 countries. So there's a lot of global experience out there that we need to harness. It's absolutely true that the world is not ubiquitous. Australia is certainly not Asia, it's not Europe, it's not the Americas. So we need to ensure that we remain relevant to the Australian market but not try to reinvent the wheel. The brand has been successfully globally because it has a number of very solid principles. And so we're needing to ensure that we bring those principles to Australia, make sure that they're relevant for the Australian market, and implement them appropriately. Some good examples of that are, I think, in the terms of supply chain, where it was a real issue for us in Australia. We've been able to leverage the skills of our global supply chain team to bring that into market, to ensure that we have continuity of supply, distribution networks that work on time, so our franchise partners are being serviced appropriately. I think the new product development, again, we have a fantastic R&D team in the US who continue to reinvent new flavours and new cakes and new drinks and beverages that we can harness and bring to this market. The store design that I mentioned earlier is the combination of a lot of work being done around the world. And Australia being one of only 2 markets that is operated by Dunkin' Brands directly as opposed to through a license agreement, we're utilising a lot of that learning internally. And probably the most exciting for me, I think, is in the training field, where we're going to be the first country outside the US to launch our online training university, which is really a team member level, and that's driven at ensuring that we have a much more consistent offering to our guests, and that all of our team members are fully trained in the Baskin Robbins methodology and systems and procedures. And it's a very exciting interactive tool that I'm sure the team members are going to love. It's very much game orientated, but I think there are some examples of how we're leveraging the global system and bringing it to Australia for the benefit of for our local market here.
In your opinion, what are some of the challenges the industry is facing at the moment?
There's a number. I think they fall into a couple of categories. The first one is the ability to source aligned franchise partners and bring new talent into the system, and mix with that the ability to have them appropriately capitalised so that they're setting themselves up for success from day one. So being able to attract great franchise partners into the system is one that I think the whole franchising industry is grappling with right at this moment. I think the second bucket is really the cost structure part of the equation. Our utility costs in Australia, particularly electricity, is exponentially increasing. I think the cost associated with attracting and retaining quality team members into the business is a challenge, and also the concentration of the retail space, particularly in New South Wales and Victoria, and the occupancy costs associated with that is certainly a challenge. So I think there's the occupancy costs, attracting great people, and utilities are 3 challenges that we face right at this moment. And I think as an industry, there's one of the benefits of being a franchise business in Australia is that we are well regulated. One of the disadvantages of the industry in Australia is we are well regulated. So there's good and bad. We certainly think there's much more benefit to it than negatives, but there is clearly a lot of administrative costs associated with running a great franchise business across Australia, and our business is making sure that we keep our costs to a minimum and that we focus on the real thing, which is serving great quality ice cream to our guests.
Ian Martin, thanks for your time today with QSR Media.
It's a pleasure. Thanks for having me.